Okay, so I have an interesting product today that I do think is worth pointing out because it actually makes a bold claim about some things that is definitely worth looking into. Now, this is the ORICO Mini Raid solid state array docking station. And what makes this thing unique is that this product claims to be the first product that integrates a docking station, an SSD desktop extension, a RAID array, and an offline cloning all in a single device. And as you can see, it's not very big. Now I have a Mac Studio, and so the key that I wanted to see is if this thing actually makes sense to expand the ports and the capability of my Mac Studio without taking up a whole lot of desktop space. So let's take a look at it. Now, one note of disclosure, ORICO did send me this device to check out. I'm not being paid for this. They don't get to review or see this in any way, shape, or form before I do it. They just sent me this, thought it might be a good expansion for my Mac and wanted me to give my opinion, and that's what I'm going to do about it. Now, one thing about this that I do find interesting is that you can set this device up as both a RAID 0 or RAID 1 with two NVMe drives, and you can do this without having to use an operating system. So what is unique about that is that the RAID will be set up in the firmware of this device itself, meaning you don't have to be on Linux or Windows operating system, which is just kind of nice that they have it built all in one system if you're looking at getting into a RAID system. Now, I'm not gonna go into the details of what a RAID is because it's a whole deep video, but it is one aspect that could be very, very nice. But what's cool about this is that even though it is a mini RAID, it can be a actual multiple hard drive setup, or it can be a clone hard drive setup as well. We're gonna go that in just a second and look at it. Now, the first thing you're gonna see is that this thing is very, very compact and it is small. I mean, they say it's a mini RAID, and man, look at that. This thing really is nice. Now, it's made of a solid kind of well-constructed aluminum, and this will very, very easily slip right on top of your Mac, like on my Mac Studio. And what I like about this is that it does that and it takes up very, very minimal desk space. As a matter of fact, I just set this right on top of my Mac Studio. One of this device's key selling points is that it is a docking station, and as such, it does come with some nice additions to your Mac, which, let's be honest, if you're working in any kind of professional situation, you're always going to want to have ways to extend your basically points of access to your Mac or your computer. And this thing is not just for Mac, this can work for PC as well. I'm on a Mac, so that's what's gonna be my perspective. Now, if you look on the front here, you're gonna see a couple things about what makes this thing so really versatile and useful. The first is you're gonna see it has a very clearly marked SD and CF card reader. Now, one aspect of this that I really do like is the fact that all the ports on this are clearly labeled with speed indicators. So as you can see, we have a 10 gigabyte USB-C port, a headphone jack, we have a 10 gigabyte USB-A, and a 5 gigabyte USB-A, and these are 3.0 USB. I really found that the clarity of that was really, really nice. You never have to worry about what your speed is here on the device. Now, you have a basically port on the back, it's on the side, and on the back you have a nice set of other inputs that are worth talking about. We're gonna go into these in a minute. Now, obviously, you do have a DC 20 volt on the back. You have your PC-in USB-C connection here, and this allows you to connect straight up to your computer. You have a mode switch right here, which just allows you to decide, you can flip these white buttons here and get different modes from RAID to cloning to whatever, we'll go in that. You have a reset button, and you have a 4K HDMI input and a LAN input right here. And then if you look here on the side, it does have a nice little display that lets you, beside the vent on the side, it lets you kind of see exactly what's going on if you want to have any light up things to realize how this thing is working. So this configuration just by itself makes this a really useful addition to your Mac, even if it just stopped right there. But I think what sets this apart is here on the top. Now, as you can see, this is actually a magnetic top, so it easily pops off. And when it pops off, you actually have some NVMe ports, and they are clearly labeled as disk 1 and disk 2. And you can sit there now, and now you can take these things and put your SSDs here in here very, very easy. And what's really nice about this, while it labels itself as a RAID device, you can actually set up two hard drives in there, and it can actually be set up as a cloning device as well. And this essentially copies everything from one hard drive over to the other. Now, for me personally, this is the main way that I'm going to use my hard drives for commercial work. Working for clients, I absolutely must have redundancy for all the projects that I'm working on. And as I said, it's pretty simple. Once you put the drives in there, you can just switch it up here and decide where these buttons are. You can see it's got a 1 and 2 button. Now, the built-in mode for this by default is that each of these is going to be individual drives. So if you get this right out of the box, it'll be set to individual drives. But depending on how you do it, you can actually very easy. So as you can see, I have it set here to the individual drives, but if I slip these to both up like that, now what's going to happen is by both up, it is actually now going to sit at where this one automatically clones onto this drive. So it's really that fast to switch between it. And then if I want to do maybe one up and one down, then I can sit there and start turning this into a RAID device. So the operation of this is pretty straightforward. They do have a list in the manual that lets you know what each of those configurations are. I'll put something up here just so you can take a look and see what that looks like. And then once you're done getting your hard drives in there, you can sit there and just pop that in and pop. It goes right back in and you're ready to go. Now, if you're like me and you're interested in setting up a RAID system on your Mac or on your PC or whatever, and you haven't had time to get around to it, you still really get a nice expansion dock for your Mac. But what I like about this that kind of really I found intriguing was the versatility of this device is this actually gives me a future-proof tool that allows me to expand my working desktop into the future. Now, I'll be honest, I did get this thing for review and I have been shooting pretty much nonstop for the last couple of weeks, so I have not had the time to get the hard drives to put in here and check them out. It just didn't work out with my schedule and the timing of getting this video out. That being said, this thing is so versatile, it doesn't really feel that much of a pressure for me because I've already been using this and it has been so useful having these extra ports so easily accessible on my Mac, even from the front. So I know I've got a great expansion dock, and then once I get around to getting those hard drives, I can easily sit there and continue to future-proof and expand the capability of my Mac, which makes this a great little tool to set up. If you want to learn, say, more about RAIDs or you're just a little bit confused about it, you can get this knowing you've got something that it can expand with you into the future. So anyway, guys, that is the ORICO Mini Raid solid-state array docking station, a really cool and versatile device that if you have a laptop, if you have a PC, or you have a Mac, could be a really nice addition to help you work faster, easier, and get rolling on your jobs. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you have to say with this. Leave me notes and comments down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.